Yeah, the hour is very late, so I'm just going to end with the statement of Moshe Rabbeinu. In the last few months of his life, he makes a plea to the Almighty for one thing. And if you'd ask yourself a question, as Moshe is approaching the end of his life after 120 years of service and a connection with Hashem where he could ask for anything. If you're that close to Hashem, you really probably could ask for whatever you want. Moshe has one final request that he makes of Hashem before he dies. And the request is as follows. The request is that the Jewish nation should not be left without a leader. And I'd like to read you from the Chumash, it's in Parshas Pinchas, what Moshe's request sounds like. V'yidaber Moshe l'Shem lemor. And Moshe spoke to Hashem saying, Yivkod Hashem Elokei HaRuchos. So Hashem, please Hashem, the God of Ruchos, the God of spirit, the Chol Basar, the one who puts spirit into all flesh. Ish ala Eidah. Please appoint an Ish on this community. Asher Yetzei Lifneihem. Somebody who will lead them, somebody who will go before them. V'asher Yovo Lifneihem v'asher Yotziim. Someone who will bring them out. V'asher Yotziem v'asher Yeviem. Someone who will bring them out, and someone who will bring them in. V'lo tieh adas Hashem kutson. Don't leave the nation like sheep. Asher ein lahem roeh. Who don't have a shepherd. You know, if I were giving a shir on this, if this were a class and we had more time, what I would do with this one sentence is I would hand out sheets to everybody and I'd ask you to identify the 10 problems in this verse. But we don't have time for that. So I'm going to identify them for you and just make a few comments on why leadership is so difficult and why all of us have such an awesome responsibility and why the work is so difficult and what it means to be a leader. Number one, it says that Moshe pleads to Hashem and he says, Hashem, Elokei HaRuchos l'chol basar. He calls God the God of Ruchos and the God of the flesh. He's saying, God, we need a leader that's going to look like you. He has to have Ruach. He has to have spirit. He has to be excited about what he does. He has to be passionate. You know, to be passionate about what you do, you have to know what it's all about. If we want to be passionate about Judaism and to lead as Jewish leaders, we have to know what the Torah is. We have to know what it says. We have to know what our life's mission is, as what's so expressed so beautifully tonight. So he says, God, just like you are a God of ruchos, of ruach, of passion. I need a leader who has this quality, has passion. But it's not enough just to have passion. He says, God, you're also Elokei Kol Basar. You're the God of all flesh. What does it mean to be the God of all flesh? If you want to lead, you can't be on some ivory tower. You can't be on some high mountain speaking about how spiritual life is. You have to be willing to go down to the basar. You have to be willing to meet people where they are and to understand people's problems and get right down there with them and roll up your sleeves. And sometimes it's a dirty job. So you have to have the passion of ruach, but at the same time, you have to be able to really relate down to people and relate well to people and to be involved with most personal things in the areas of people's lives that are problematic and sometimes even dirty and no fun to be with. So God, he says, I need a leader, number one, who has passion. Number two, he has to be a leader who can really relate down and understand that every human being is human and has human needs and talk to them and reach them on that level. And he says, I need a leader, Asher Yetzei Lifneihem, V'asher Yavo Lifneihem, a leader who will go out before them and will come before them. You know, in the Israeli army, they have a statement which is probably the only statement that any army uses. It's a statement called Acharai. Acharai means that when you ever go into battle, so in most armies, they send the foot soldiers, the privates, and the corporals, and the sergeants They send them into battle. In the Israeli army, the officers go first. And the motto of the Israeli army is Acharai. You follow me. We're going to go first, and you come after. And that's probably one of the reasons why the Israeli army succeeds in missions that most armies probably would fail in. Because the inspiration that the officers, the inspiration of those in charge go first. So Moshe's pleading to God, he's saying to God, I need someone who's going to go first. Who's willing not just to stand back and give orders, but is going to say, be like me. Follow me. Copy me. You know, as Michael just expressed so beautifully, you know, and because of what he's doing, what was that word for family used? The whole avlut. Avlot has followed him. And it's true. You have to be the model. If you're the model, the avlot will come with you. You can't lead from the background. You have to lead by going forward. So he says, God, I need someone who has passion. I need someone who understands that people are human and can relate down to their needs. I need someone who's going to go out before them. And then he says, I need someone asher yotziem v'asher yaviem. Someone who will bring them out and will bring them in. What does that mean? To go bring the people out and to bring them in. You know, a Jewish leader has two fronts he has to operate on. One front he has to operate on is the front where you have to bring the people out. Sometimes we have to stand up for Judaism. Sometimes if the world is slandering the state of Israel, we have to have people like Hanan, and they have to get up there, and they have to speak, and they have to bring soldiers in, and people to explain what Israel is doing, and showing that, that the lies. And sometimes we have to write articles, and sometimes we have to protest, and sometimes we have to protest the UN doing things. Sometimes we have to protest inviting certain past presidents to speak at Jewish colleges. Sometimes we have to go out. That's one way we have to lead. But it's not only that way. Moshe says to Hashem, I need a leader who's willing to take them out, and I need a leader who's asher yivi'im, who will bring them in. Because part of leadership means not just you're on the outside, but you have to bring people in. You have to go inside with them. You have to go inside their homes. And you have to help them with Shalom Bais. Rabbi Rutenberg spent so much time with. And you have to help them with the laws of Kashrut. And you have to help them understand their children. And you have to help them with their family problems. And you have to talk to them about their problems. It's not enough just to be on the outside. You have to be Yivi'im. You have to bring them inside. You have to be on the inside also. And then finally, Moshe says to Hashem, Lo tihye edas Hashem katzon. Please, Hashem, don't let this nation be like a flock of sheep. Asher ein lehem roah, that don't have a shepherd. You know, sheep are very interesting animals, by the way. I think I'm not a zoologist and I can't testify to this, but I don't know if there are other animals like a sheep, but a sheep has a very unique quality. It only has peripheral vision. It can only see from side to side. It could see only a few feet in front of it. That's why a sheep will always just copy what the guy next to it does. If it doesn't have a shepherd, it's not going to walk forward. Because it's just going to look to left and right, and whatever that guy's doing, he'll do it. So Moshe pleads to God and says, please, grant them a shepherd, because it would be a tragedy if the Jewish people were like sheep. It would be a tragedy if every Jew just looks from side to side and just saying, well, whatever you're doing, I'm going to do. And whatever you're doing, I'm going to do. Give them a leader who could look at each Jew and say to them, this is your greatness. I want you to go forward in the way you're supposed to go forward. Have a vision for each Jew. Don't allow them to be like a flock of sheep just looking side to side without any individuality or individual expression. So my friends, this is what Moshe Rabbeinu says. Towards the end of his life, he pleads to the Almighty, we need leadership. Because without leadership, the Jewish nation isn't going to make it. We'll make it, but we need leaders. But to be a leader, one has to weave together so many different qualities. You have to you have to have passion. You have to have a heart. You have to kind of live in a world of idealism. But at the same time, you got to go down and understand people. Be a people person. And talk to them and know what they like to eat and feed them. Same time, you have to understand the big issues that affect the Jewish people. The way the world is trying to damage us, damage the state of Israel. Same time, you have to be able to go inside a home and help a person with shalom bayis. At the same time, you have to understand that every human being, that every Jew is so special and so unique, and that it's your job as a leader to bring out that uniqueness of every Jew. My friends, it's a tall task. And that's why Moshe pleads with God and says, please, before I leave this world, make sure there's someone who will be like that. The next verse, of course, says that God says to Moshe, I have the person, his name Yeshua ben Nun. You know, I leave you with this message. And the message is that one of the reasons why we have this fellowship, of course, is knowledge, and of course, is education. Underlying it all is that we really need each and every one of you to be a leader. You have to be a leader. You have to be a leader in your home, with your family, as Rabbi Delman spoke so beautifully about. And we need to be a leader for the Jewish people, to lead your friends, to lead people in the community. But to be that leader, it's not easy. You have to have inspiration, you need Torah. You have to be able to relate down to people. You have to know the big issues, and you have to know very personal issues. That's what a leader has to be made of. It's not an easy task, but it can be done. And I say this from the bottom of my heart, and I'm going to say this in the name of the entire staff of Emet, that we believe in each and every one of you. And each and every one of you will be the future leaders of the Jewish people. Thank you very much, everybody.